Ford Motor Company was more than just a car maker. It was a symbol of American innovation and prosperity, a beacon of progress that shaped the nation's identity. From the earliest days of the assembly line, Ford revolutionized not only how cars were built, but how Americans lived and worked. For generations, Ford meant good jobs, strong communities, and the American dream in motion. Its factories were the lifeblood of countless towns, providing stability and hope for families across the country. The F-150 wasn't just a truck, it was an institution, the best-selling vehicle for decades. It became a trusted companion for workers, families, and adventurers alike, a symbol of reliability and rugged American spirit. Ford's success radiated across the country, supporting workers, suppliers, and small businesses from the Rust Belt to Silicon Valley. Every Ford vehicle on the road represented a network of livelihoods and dreams. The company was investing billions in electric vehicles and autonomous tech, ready to lead the next automotive revolution. Ford's vision extended far beyond the present, aiming to shape the future of mobility for generations to come. Ford's health was a bellwether for the entire U.S. economy. When Ford thrived, so did the nation's confidence and economic outlook. Its intricate supply chain created a vast ecosystem of jobs and economic activity, stretching from local factories to global shipping lanes. This stability, however, depended on a global system of trade. Ford's reach extended to every corner of the world, connecting American industry to international markets. Ford relied on a complex international supply chain: aluminum from Canada, steel from Europe, electronics from Asia. Each partnership was essential to keeping production moving and costs down. This global integration allowed Ford to offer high-quality vehicles at prices families could afford, making the dream of car ownership accessible to millions. The company's strength was built on efficiency, adaptability, and a delicate balance of global partnerships. Ford's ability to innovate and collaborate was the key to its enduring legacy. But this balance was about to be shattered. The world Ford knew was on the brink of dramatic change. A political earthquake was coming, one that would test Ford's resilience like never before. The rules of global trade were shifting, and uncertainty loomed over every decision. The world was changing, and Ford was about to face its greatest challenge yet. The stakes had never been higher for the company, its workers, and the communities that depended on them. The question was, could an American icon survive a new era of economic nationalism? Would Ford's legacy endure, or would it be swept away by the tides of change? The answer would reshape the future of American industry, setting the stage for a new chapter in the story of Ford and the nation itself. Then came the tariffs, a move that would send shockwaves through the American economy and reshape the landscape for years to come. In 2018, the Trump administration imposed steep tariffs on steel and aluminum, aiming to protect American jobs and industries from foreign competition. But for Ford, these tariffs were a blow, not a shield. Instead of relief, the company faced new and unexpected challenges. The cost of essential materials like steel and aluminum skyrocketed almost overnight, squeezing margins and forcing tough decisions. Ford's global supply chain was thrown into chaos. Higher costs at home and new barriers abroad made it harder to compete. China retaliated with tariffs on American-made cars, crippling Ford's exports and slashing access to one of its most important markets. The company was squeezed from both sides, rising costs and shrinking markets, leaving workers and executives alike deeply concerned about the future. The dream of revitalized American manufacturing quickly turned into a nightmare for Ford, as production slowed and uncertainty grew. The policy failed to recognize that American companies are deeply intertwined with the global economy, relying on international partners and open markets. Ford was forced to absorb billions in new costs, eroding profits, undermining its future, and putting thousands of jobs at risk. The shockwave of tariffs cracked the foundation of one of America's most important manufacturers, leaving scars that would last for years. The era of economic certainty was over, replaced by a new reality of volatility and doubt for American industry. The impact on Ford's supply chain was immediate and severe. Steel and aluminum tariffs drove up the cost of every vehicle built in the U.S. Even domestic steel prices soared as competition vanished. Ford faced impossible choices: absorb the costs or pass them to consumers and risk losing market share. The company lost over $1 billion in profit, money that could have fueled innovation. Retaliatory tariffs abroad made Ford's exports uncompetitive, shrinking its global market. The once precise supply chain became a source of chaos and uncertainty. Planning and budgeting became nearly impossible. Ford was caught in a trade war crossfire, with damage mounting every day. The company's future was suddenly at risk. Ford's financial health deteriorated rapidly. The initial billion-dollar loss was just the start. Each quarter brought more bad news. Wall Street lost confidence, and Ford's stock price tumbled. To survive, Ford launched a massive restructuring, closing factories, cutting jobs, and discontinuing entire vehicle lines. The focus shifted from innovation to survival. Debt mounted and credit ratings fell, making borrowing even more expensive. The resources needed for electric vehicles and global competition were drained away. Ironically, a policy meant to protect American industry was dismantling one of its champions. Ford's decline wasn't due to mismanagement, but to the crushing weight of government policy. The numbers told a story of deep, lasting damage. The promise of a stronger America was leading to a weaker Ford. Behind the financial losses was a devastating human cost, a story often left untold in the headlines. Factory closures and mass layoffs hit communities like Flat Rock and Louisville with a force that rippled through every street and household. Generations of families lost good-paying union jobs, the backbone of the American middle class, jobs that had supported dreams, college educations, and retirements. Workers who had dedicated their entire lives to Ford suddenly faced an uncertain future, unsure how to provide for their families. Their specialized skills, honed over decades, didn't transfer easily to other industries, turning layoffs into permanent setbacks for many. Local businesses suffered as customers disappeared, property values fell, and public services were cut, leaving towns struggling to survive. A single factory closure could send an entire town into decline, unraveling the social fabric that held communities together. The jobs weren't replaced by new industries. They simply vanished, leaving a void that nothing seemed able to fill. The human cost of the trade war was measured in broken lives, abandoned communities, and lost hope for the future. This wasn't creative destruction. It was just destruction, with no new opportunities rising from the ashes. The very people the tariffs were meant to help ended up paying the highest price, bearing the brunt of the fallout. The collapse of Ford became a community tragedy, repeated across the heartland, leaving scars that may never fully heal. The American dream was slipping away, replaced by uncertainty and loss for countless families. As Ford's crisis deepened, its leaders pleaded with Washington for relief. They presented data and warned of devastating consequences, but their pleas fell on deaf ears. The administration doubled down, dismissing Ford's concerns as corporate whining. The political narrative favored protectionism, ignoring the broader damage to the auto industry. Economic experts warned of the flaws in the tariff strategy, but were brushed aside. Political polarization created gridlock. No unified effort emerged to challenge the policy. Ford and its workers were caught in a political battle beyond their control. The system meant to protect their interests failed them. Ideology triumphed over evidence, leaving Ford to fend for itself. Ford's collapse sent shockwaves through the entire American economy. Thousands of suppliers, from Ohio to California, lost contracts and laid off workers. Even the steel and aluminum industries, meant to be protected, suffered as Ford's demand vanished. The policy backfired, harming the very industries it aimed to help. Consumer confidence fell, slowing sales across the auto sector. The fall of Ford created a climate of fear and uncertainty, putting a brake on economic growth. The crisis warned other companies, even giants weren't safe from sudden policy shifts. Investment dried up as businesses feared unpredictable government action. America's reputation as a stable place to do business was shaken. The fall of Ford became a national tragedy, a warning against abandoning rational economic policy. Today, we stand at a crossroads. Ford's collapse is a lesson in the dangers of misguided economic policy. The path forward for Ford and American manufacturing is uncertain. Recovery starts with sane, Predictable trade policy, not protectionism. We must help American workers compete globally, investing in education, infrastructure, and innovation. Ford must rebuild its supply chains, regain investor trust, and reclaim its place in the world market. The government has a responsibility to create conditions for recovery, not through bailouts, but smart policy. The fate of Ford reflects the fate of America itself. Will we look inward and retreat, or compete and lead with confidence? The collapse of Ford is a wake-up call. The future of American prosperity and millions of livelihoods hangs in the balance. We must choose wisely.